Your brain, it doesn't believe you anymore. And that may be the real reason you keep falling off. Not because you don't care, not because you don't want it bad enough, not because you're weak, but because you've made promises to yourself before. And your brain remembers what happened. You said you were going to wake up early. You didn't. You said you were going to stop scrolling, but you didn't. You said you were going to get serious this time, but you didn't. And every time you broke one of those promises, you weren't just missing a task, you were teaching your brain something. My word, it can't be trusted. That gap between what you say you'll do and what you actually do, it's called the proof gap. And once it gets big enough, discipline gets harder. Not because the task is harder, but because belief is lower. Picture two versions of you. The one on the left is the one version that makes the promise. He's the one who says, tomorrow, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. Monday, I'm starting over. This time, I'm locked in. The one on the right is the version that actually shows up. He's the one hitting the snooze button. He's the one who's scrolling instead of working. He's the one who breaks the promise. The distance between those two guys, that's the proof gap. And every time the one on the left makes a promise the one on the right doesn't keep, the gap gets wider. Eventually those two guys, they don't even recognize each other. The one on the left keeps writing checks, and the one on the right, he keeps bouncing them. And your brain stops believing anything the guy on the left says, because the only version that's real is the version with proof. Your brain is not listening to your intentions, it's watching your evidence. You can say, this time will be different, but your brain says, show me. You can say, I'm done falling off, but your brain says, you said that last time. You can say, I'm locked in now, but your brain says, for how long? That is why motivation wears off so fast. Motivation speaks to your future, but self-trust is built from your past. And if your past is full of broken promises, your brain has no reason to believe the next one. But here's where most people make it worse. They try to fix broken trust with bigger promises. I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. I'm gonna work out every day. I'm going to eat clean all the time. I'm gonna change my whole life this week. And it feels powerful when you say it, but it's actually keeping you stuck. Because big promises, they feel inspiring until you break them. Then they just become more evidence against you. That's why the answer is not a bigger promise. It's a smaller promise. A promise so small your brain can't argue with it, because the goal is not to impress yourself. The goal is to trust yourself again. And trust does not come back through hype. Trust comes back through proof. Most people skip this because they're addicted to intensity. They want the big transformation, the big announcement, the big Monday explosion. But intensity is not the same as identity. Intensity says, look how hard I can go. Identity says, this is just who I am now. And you do not get there by making huge promises. You get there by making small ones. One kept promise becomes proof. Proof rebuilds trust. Trust makes the next promise easier. And that is how discipline starts compounding. In the last video, I told you feet on the floor before your brain gets a vote. That wasn't just action. That was a promise. And a promise is what we're talking about today. So here's the challenge. Tonight, before you go to bed, pick one promise. Not 5, not 10, just one. Make it so small you can keep it even on a bad day. Something like, when my alarm goes off, my feet hit the floor. I will walk for 10 minutes. I will put my phone away for the first 30 minutes of the day. I will work on my goal for the next 20 focused minutes. One promise, 7 days, no drama, no announcement, no fake transformation post, just proof. Because your brain does not need another speech. It needs evidence. And every time you keep that small promise, You close the proof gap. You teach your brain, when I say something, I do it. That is where self-trust comes back. Not all at once, not overnight, but one kept promise at a time. And eventually, you stop needing to convince yourself you're different. You know you're different because you now have proof. Discipline gets easier when your word becomes trustworthy again. So stop building discipline on promises your brain doesn't believe. Start building it on proof your brain can't deny. Until I said I would, and I did, they mean the same thing. And once you choose that one small promise, there's one moment you still have to win. It's not the whole day. It's not the whole routine. It's the 2 seconds before you negotiate yourself out of it. That tiny gap is where discipline usually dies. So in the next video, I'll show you how to win what I call the 2-second gap. Watch that next video here.